We are now joined by the SARCHI Chair of African Diplomacy and Foreign Policy, Professor Chris Lansberg from the University of Johannesburg. Prof, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. Let's start off here. The optics quite important, of course, on the opening of the Russia-Africa Summit. Who attended and who didn't attend? 49 invitations that were sent, only 17 heads of state that arrived. What do you read into this? Good morning.
Yeah, what I read into it, good morning to you too. What I read into it is that the geopolitical struggle that's real, that's palpable, that's going on, is also playing itself out in Africa. In fact, I think we're seeing, to put it crudely, a new scramble for Africa. That scramble may even result in proxy wars down the line. But for now, just look at the lineup of events we're going to have over the next 2 to 3 months. So there's the Russia-Africa Summit playing itself out right now. There's the G20 meeting next month. There's the AGOA meeting, and it's going to be interesting to see how America reacts to those states who attended, and it's going to be interesting to see who will be included and excluded from AGOA. Optics, very important. What is interesting about this summit, though, Eldrin, in terms of your question, is that Russia doesn't have a lot of money to play with at the moment, but it is playing to its strengths. But here's the contradiction as far as the agricultural deal is concerned. On the one hand, Russia has been, of course, bombing the grain sites in Ukraine, and one of the ramifications has been the increase in prices. On the other hand, it's promising African countries, given its 20% dominant share of grain production, Africa stands to benefit a lot. Very interesting dynamics going on.
Yeah. So he also speaks about, of course, the grain that would be coming from Ukraine, that Russia would be able to cover that. But when we look at the 6 countries that have been selected, why specifically those 6 countries from your observation? What is it about them? And 2 of those countries, including Mali, for instance, have the presence of the Wagner Group.
Yeah, you see, one of the problems that we have with what my late colleague Francis Kornig and I have described as the one and the many, in other words, the one power, whether it's the United States Africa Summit, whether it's TCAT from Japan and Africa, FOCAC and China and Africa, or in this case, Russia and Africa, is that Africa goes there ostensibly as one bloc, and we expect deals to be carved for the continent. Yet what you would then see, almost these bilateral deals being cut, or you would see a disparate range of countries benefiting. So in a sense, it's illusionary that we go there as one bloc. And that's for Africa to address, for Africa to say, don't divide us. The grain issue and food insecurity is not confined to 6 African countries. All regions are affected. And even if you can then adopt a regional approach, say SADC enters into an agreement, West Africa enters into agreement, East Africa, North Africa, something like that. It is not happening because on paper we are unified. In reality, we are not unified. But it's interesting, your question, why those 6 countries? It must have something to do with their unique bilateral relationships that they have with Moscow.
Prof, just in a couple of seconds, of course, the 10-point proposal from the African heads of state that went to Russia as well as Ukraine. Do you think something could come out of that, an update at least from Moscow?
I think the issue will certainly be tabled. One of the things is that President Ramaphosa is under pressure to make it a more continent-wide initiative to get buy-in from other African countries. All I can say to you at this stage, when the war finally ends, the Africans might just turn back and say, we told you so, this is how the war is going to end. But for now, I think we're in for the long haul as far as the war is concerned. And I think it's going to coincide with the U.S. election next year. We'll see some movement on trying to end the war.